Hello and welcome to Metal Vice, a podcast where we talk about all things music.
Well, the things we care about.
Right, which is primarily metal music and live music. I'm your host, Brian, joined by my other host,
Karen.
And while it's primarily live music and metal music, today's, I guess it's going to cover both of those topics.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually, yes. Today's episode, though, is going to be about our musical journey and sort of music evolution, how we've sort of evolved as music listeners and how it's impacted our lives sort of as an overarching, I guess, theme for this for the episode.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited about this. I don't know. I obviously we love music and it's a big part of our lives. I think it's a big part of a lot of people's lives. It's almost everywhere you look. Like if you watched a movie without any music or sound, it's so weird. I mean, even our microwave and our washing machine sings when it's when something happens, like
when it's ready.
Yeah, like you're done, time to open the door, basically, and it plays this like little jingle. So I don't know, it's interesting. It's gonna be fun to, I think, talk about this.
Okay.
So let me kick it off, I guess. And just start with sort of my earliest memories of music. And it was growing up, we had this sort of big stereo system, and we would listen to music while we ate dinner. And it was the CDs I remember the most were these super sounds of the 70s, which were just these CDs with smiley faces on it in different colors. So you had like a yellow smiley face, a pink, a purple, a blue, a green. And you listen to a bunch of 70s music. So you got, the only songs I really remember are, there's this Rubber Ducky song where this guy was going to take a bath and wanted a rubber ducky. I think is the song
Are you
I
sure
remember.
these are like 70s songs and not like kid songs?
I swear to God, this is a 70s song.
Okay.
So I'll find it and play it for you.
No, it's okay. You don't have to.
And then like a trucker song by, I think, like C.W. McCall, I think was the artist or something like that. Okay. Like Convoy, that was the name of the song, Convoy. And it's just about a bunch of truckers in a big convoy hauling like illegal equipment or illegal goods across state lines and being chased by the cops. Fun little song, I guess, but those are like the two songs I remember the most from that sort of listening to those super sounds of the 70s. We always did it listening to dinner, and that was sort of my earliest memory of consuming music and listening to music was, sort of through your parents, listening to what they listened to, which also is why I like Meatloaf and AC/DC is we listen to a lot of those two things as well, those two artists.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you remember from like your earliest moments of like listening to music?
Yeah, I remember watching or listening, not watching. You don't watch music. Well, I guess you could.
Well, some you can.
Like live music, you watch that. But no, I remember listening to KJJY, which is like Central Iowa's country station or something. I don't know. But that was something that like my mom always listened to. So I remember listening to that as a kid a lot. And then, but I was always like, I guess since they, like my mom listened to country, I listened to country. Or like my mom and, I don't remember. My dad always listened to like AM radio, but like the music on AM radio.
Oh, interesting. Do they have music on AM radio?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
it's
like
all like
old
talk shows, right?
No, I mean, I remember being in his truck and he would listen to AM radio.
I mean, that's funny. Like, we grew up listening to AM radio too, and it was not for the music, for the old-timey radio shows from like 8 at night to like 10 at night or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But other than that, it's like talk shows. That's all I think of, like AM and the Cubs.
Oh, yeah. No, like, yeah, there was like a country western station.
Okay.
Which
so like
had like old country.
Old school country.
Yeah. So I remember listening to that. But as a kid, like I've always, up until the last couple of years, I've always been like a one artist person where I listen to the same artist over and over and over. And as a kid, it was always Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah, I remember that when we first met, you were like a big Billy Ray Cyrus person still, like a fan.
Yeah,
even at that point in time.
Yeah. Like I just remember my bedroom like having posters or whatever of Billy Ray Cyrus. Like I remember going to the state fair once and they had like where you could throw like darts
in like the Kearney area.
Yeah, the Kearney area, and like you throw darts, and then like one of the prizes was like a poster of Billy Ray Cyrus.
Was it a poster or was it like the little tiny printouts with glass?
Oh no, I got like a poster like a
Okay.
framed poster. And I put it up by
Interesting.
my closet. Yeah, I remember.
Huh. I remember doing that kind of stuff too, and you got like the little tiny,
The little ones.
like the 5 inch, like it was that big type thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe what's that, like 5 inch by 5 inch square, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you got to choose like, I want that image or I want that picture, and it had like glass on it. Looking back on it, it probably wasn't the safest to give to kids, like actual pieces of glass.
And I'm sure it's just like printed. Like if you take that out,
yeah, for
like it's
sure.
just like a printed thing that's in like a cheap frame. But anyways, and like there is like a video, like a VHS like home recorded video of my cousin, my sister, and I singing "Achy Breaky Heart" at my grandparents' house. Like, I don't know. I remember like my mom would tape the Country Music Awards because it was on way too late for us to stay up. We had to go to bed at like 7:30 probably.
I mean, yeah, as little kids, yeah.
Yeah. So she would always tape that, or like every year she would tape that. So I don't know if I still have that. I probably don't have those anymore, but it was always fun to watch.
I actually remember "Achy Breaky Heart" because my dad brought home the CD or something when that came out, and I loved it and just sung it as well.
Oh, I love that.
I
love. You've never told me that.
No, yeah, I completely forgot about that, but yeah, I was super into it for a little bit of time, and I eventually grew out of it and
so not
started
for like
hating it.
15 years.
No, I mean, looking back, I don't know how long it was, but in my mind, I'm like, it's only a few months at most, but it may have been longer. I don't know. As a kid, like your judgment of timing is so different.
I wonder if it was during that time because like there was I think it was a '93 Country Music Awards, but it was like Billy Ray Cyrus and Dolly Parton sang a song together, and they won for that. And then Billy Ray Cyrus comes out and like
Does "Achy Breaky"
Heart like perform. Like I remember he had like this red type shirt on with his long hair and blue jeans and white shoes. I can remember everything.
Yeah, I just I remember that as a kid for a hot minute, just enjoying it.
I wonder if everybody liked "Achy Breaky Heart."
I'm sure
for
they
a
did when
while.
it came out. It was like the biggest thing for sure.
Yeah, it totally was.
But yeah, another point you brought up, like you listen to the music your parents got, and that's exactly how it was for me. Like I said, like super sounds of the '70s, and then Meatloaf and AC/DC were the main things.
I don't remember ever like listening to it like in the car. I remember that, and then we had a radio that I remember listening to, but like never at like dinner or anything.
Okay.
But yeah, so we didn't have like a tradition like that.
Yeah, it's not something we did all the time, but it's something we did enough to like resonate
to remember it
and remember it. Yeah. Also, like I said, the music, is in all parts of life, is in promotional stuff as well. I do remember that WWF, it was WWF at the time, was doing Highway to Hell. I think it was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Undertaker.
What's the difference? What you said WWF at the time?
So they used to be called World Wrestling Federation, WWF. The World Wildlife Foundation sued them for the name.
Oh.
And now it's WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment.
Oh.
So
I guess I didn't make that like connection. Okay.
Yep. So like it was Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker were going to fight, and it's called The Highway to Hell. And they would play AC/DC's Highway to Hell. And I'm in, elementary school, like freaking out, like I can't say hell. And like we went to a wrestling event before that took place. And my dad's like, it's fine, you can say hell, just, because it was like Highway to HE double hockey sticks, shit like that. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I remember that too, but
it is kind of funny to think back on like the songs that we used to listen to as a kid, and then like, I mean, even thinking like country songs, like they're not very good. I mean,
what do you mean not very good?
Like they don't have good messages or anything. And like as a kid, at least my growing up was like you have to be wholesome and you have to be
gotcha,
like all this stuff. And it's like looking back on even the music that I listened to as a kid, it's like.
There's some deep shit in there that's not so wholesome.
That doesn't make sense how I was raised.
So I'm not a big country fan. There is definitely a couple country songs. The ones I do like are like the darker or more depressing songs. And there's like some
like
that,
Whiskey Lullaby.
Whiskey Lullaby, and then there's like A Thunder Road where it's like he's out cheating on me type thing.
Well, they're all about cheating on. Like Achy Breaky Heart's about cheating on you.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah.
Like I think it was a real thing that happened, and like when his wife was girlfriend or wife was leaving him, she would like say something and be like, oh, that's a great line, and like write it down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Funny.
So it was like it's kind of like Taylor Swift now, like
I guess, yeah.
always writing songs about her breakups.
Yeah. What else from elementary school do you remember from like music?
Well, I started playing the flute in bands in like I think 4th grade.
Oh, 4th grade, really?
Yeah.
I started violin in the 4th grade for a grand total of like 4 weeks. I didn't like it because we weren't allowed to use the bow at the time. They were telling us like, pluck the strings to make the notes and shit. And I hated it. I was like, no, violins use this bow thing. I want to do that. And like I was so frustrated at how slow it was going. I was like, fuck, I'm done with this, and I didn't do it. But you started like brass and woodland and shit in 4th grade.
I'm pretty sure it was 4th grade that we started that. Like the second half of, because we did semesters. So like the first half was recorders. And then the second half was we got our instruments. If you wanted to do like an instrument, you got an instrument.
Yeah, I remember recorders.
But everybody
too.
did recorders.
Yeah, so did we. It was in like music class. You had to spend like $1, and then you got one in class, and it was like now you get a bunch of different colors and clear ones, which is kind of cool. But ours was like the black stem and the white.
Oh,
head.
ours were all black. Yeah.
See, that would have been so much cooler. Ours was like the black
I like
and
painted
white.
mine with fingernail polish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the bottom.
But yeah, we did that in music class for all of like 3 weeks, and
really?
It wasn't that long.
Oh, I mean, I guess I don't. We probably went to music class like once a week or something.
Maybe it was longer.
we
And
had
once again,
one-
like my childhood time is all fucked up.
Well, like we had one music teacher for the entire school.
Same here. Yeah, so
okay.
did we.
Maybe that's normal, but so like you didn't go that often because it was like they had to have every single class.
I feel like it was at least once a week, if not twice a week.
Yeah.
That we went
Now
to
that I
music
think about it,
class.
it might have been twice a week, but
Because that alternated with art. Like you'd go
Yeah,
there,
ours did
art,
too.
and maybe PE.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It was PE, so that's why I thought you only went once a week. Like you did PE twice, and then art and music once.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Or PE 3 times, and then art and music once.
Within the week. That
Yeah, and like, but it was the same time every. Like those 3 things were the same time every day. It's just
I kind of
dependent.
remember that too. Yeah.
And then as you get older, like we had to do computer class too, so that probably had to be thrown in that time slot.
We didn't have any of that.
Oh, really?
I mean, in like middle school, high school, we ended up doing
Well, you are an old
typing
man.
and stuff. What's that?
You're an old man.
Maybe.
No, I'm joking.
Anyway,
No, I
this
remember
isn't
doing
much
that. No, that wasn't.
music,
No, that
so-
wasn't music.
But so 4th grade, you started playing
The flute.
the flute. 5th grade, I did saxophone, and that was I wanted to do the trumpet thing first. The instrument, the trumpet.
The actual trumpet.
Instrument. But they gave you like the mouthpiece, and they're like, you gotta make noise out of this, and then you can like it was this test type thing. And I don't think he explained it that well because I just put it up to my lips and I kind of like blow straight through, and it made no noise. Is that not what you're supposed to do?
No, you have to like purse your lips and then like buzz them. Like, yeah, that sounds.
I can make that sound all day long, every day.
Yeah, I know you
so,
can. It's kind of annoying.
So I could have easily played the trumpet if I was explained properly of how to do it. So because the outcome's going to be the same regardless of what instrument I played, because I did switch over to the saxophone, and that was because of The Simpsons. I was a huge Simpsons fan. I liked it. Lisa wasn't necessarily my favorite character, but she played saxophone, and it's like, if it's going to be on The Simpsons, I want to
So you wanted to play it?
So, and also my friend's dad was a saxophonist, so he played in like a local big band or jazz band. So I was like, that's cool. I can do that too. But that only lasted like 4 months. I did like one sort of recital thing, and it was a complete fucking disaster. And because I didn't practice at all, I didn't like practicing. It was boring.
Do you remember the first song you ever played?
I don't know.
Oh.
It was.
I was March for the Flautist.
Mine was easy because it was basically these 6 notes or 8 notes or whatever, how many ever notes it was. Play it, and then you repeat it, and then you like repeat it 4 times, and then you play.
Did you do it like with your teacher like playing the piano with it?
No, so that was the other thing. It's like, here, pick a piece and just go home and practice. I don't think we really had many classes.
Oh, okay.
And maybe that was another thing. Once again, the instructor kind of sucked, and I just wasn't into it. Maybe a lot of it really was I didn't want to work.
Yeah,
so,
you just wanted to play.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. No, I played all the way through high school. Like freshman year of high school, my flute got broke on a band trip. And so I had to end up playing the school's clarinet for 2 years. But it wasn't mine. I didn't own it. So I went from like first chair flute to last chair clarinet.
Because they don't transfer over that well, do they?
No. Like, I mean, reading the music stays the same, but you have to learn all the notes again.
I mean, music's music. So, like, this line is
what I meant is, like, it's all in treble clef, where, like, brass instruments is in bass clef, I think. Maybe not all of them.
But, like, as long as you know how to read the music, you're good.
Yeah.
But the instrument itself, like, your finger positions and how you hold it. Well, obviously, how you hold instruments is different. But
but the notes are all the different. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, it's like I was the best to the worst.
What's the one that's just on the slide? Is that the
trombone?
Trombone.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was joking once, like, the trombone's the awesome instrument because, like, it's all the position of how far back it is. Like, this is E, this is G.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then it's your mouth position too.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. To like make it. Yeah. I don't know how to play. My sister played the trombone, but I don't know how to play the trombone.
Any other elementary school memories for you?
No, not really. We didn't really listen. I guess we went into making music then, but we didn't. I don't remember. I guess I remember Backstreet Boys was big then.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, like I remember when it was cold, like we couldn't play outside because the bus would drop you off, and then you have to like either you go outside and play, like on the playground, but when it was cold, you had to sit in the cafeteria.
Yep.
And so I remember doing that, and like that's when I found out about Backstreet Boys. And then I think they had videos on like Disney.
Were you into the Backstreet Boys?
I was,
when they came out.
Yeah, that's the only one. Like out of all of those, that's the only one that I was into. Like I was never into Destiny's Child or NSYNC or Britney
or
Spears.
Christina.
No.
A friend of mine was, I think, really big into NSYNC, and I remember hearing it and just being like, "This is shitty. This is not good at all." Like even back then, I was like, "This isn't good."
I just pictured you at the bar going, "Bye, bye, bye."
I mean, I right now that is a guilty pleasure of mine. I do enjoy that song, somewhat as a joke, somewhat as like it's not the absolute worst. It's pop music. It's designed to sound good, so it sounds fine. But like. That's always my joke. Like I'm an NSYNC guy. They got JT. Like you have to. He brought sexy back. You gotta stick with that. Backstreet Boys have like a creepy old guy in the band. Like come on.
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah,
I liked Kevin.
Creepy old pedophile guy. Yep.
I don't remember all their names.
No,
I liked. Wasn't there one like named Harry or how?
I don't know.
Howie is the one. I had a picture of him on my wall too. Howie.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't care who that is. The only other couple memories I have from elementary school are one, I was in choir also. A brief period of time.
Everybody did that in my school.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Was it like required?
Yeah. Like everybody performed at the concert.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Now this was an elective, and it was before school started. They met like twice a week, like Tuesdays and Thursdays or something like that. And I am not a morning person, so I don't get up like to do anything. I've gotten up early to buy beer and buy concert tickets. Other than that, I don't get the fuck up. And I don't think there was any reward for going to choir either. Like maybe you got like a pizza party or something at the end of the year.
Oh, really?
But I was like, no, fuck that. I did do crossing guard duty because you got free tickets to Adventureland, which is a theme park.
Oh, really?
If you did the whole year. So I would get up early and do crossing guard because I want to go to the fucking ride some roller coasters.
Yeah.
But choir, no. Eventually it was you either show up on time or you don't show up at all. So I just like, I guess I'm not showing up at all.
Yeah. You would never be able to do marching band. We had to be there at like 6:30 in the morning.
No, fuck that. I'm not doing that.
In the cold and marching.
No, I don't mind. The cold doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't bother you. But when you're holding a metal instrument.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never done it. But at the same time, it's too early to even try. So who cares?
So you're not going to do it?
All the other requirements go out the window when you tell me it's 6 a.m.
Yeah. Like, I remember, there was still like frost on the grass sometimes. And it was early and cold.
So that memory, brief memory. I did do that longer than both the instruments because all you had to do was like go up there and sing.
Yeah.
And even that you'd have to sing. You'd have to kind of like pretend like you're moving
Just say
your
watermelon.
lips.
Watermelon, watermelon, watermelon. That's what I did because I joined in. So elementary school, everybody did it, but then in middle school, I think was when it became like a course that you could take, and then high school was the same way. And I did it for one semester in middle school because like I had a friend that did it, so we did it together. But I didn't want to sing, and so I just said watermelon.
I just sung the words after everyone else sung them. So again, this is a work thing, right? Like you have to learn the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck that. I'm
like
just
you're not gonna practice.
So whenever they're singing the words, I'm just like getting right behind them. And eventually, it's like I'm trying to predict the words. Like, nope, that's wrong. Nope, that's wrong. So I mean, and even today, I'm not like the biggest guy on lyrics.
You're
either,
not. No.
So
Yeah.
the music aspect of it is like the instrument aspect is more important to me, the thing I gravitate towards the most, which also goes back to those earlier days, right? Like I listened to a lot of classical music as well.
Was that in
sort of
elementary school though?
Yeah, it was. We did a lot in elementary school, like just listening to music in class, also in music class. I know that's where I first saw and learned about the Nutcracker Ballet. That was around Christmas time. We would watch that and learn about that. And then did a whole like segment on ballets. But classical music, Beethoven, Mozart, and Bach were like my three go-to in that order too. And I'd listen to that all the time. A lot of it was falling asleep to music.
Oh,
Just
okay.
put a CD on and listen to it as you fall asleep.
Yeah.
I've gotten away from that a lot, actually. I haven't, like, after, I don't know, college maybe I kind of stopped falling asleep to music. And
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like to fall asleep to like you watching something or
sounds.
yeah, some sound. But then, yeah, I don't know what you ever fell asleep to because I was asleep.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just silence now.
But I remember at your dad's house when we stayed there, like I remember putting CDs in and listening to that when we fell asleep.
Yeah, it was interesting because you'd get to a loud growl or loud scream in the track, and it would just wake me up in the middle of the night sometimes. And I'd also like crank it super fucking loud.
Yeah, you always had your stereo really loud.
But other than that, in middle school, like, I mean, I said classical music was my big thing I listened to. Comedy CDs were another thing. And just whatever my parents were listening to. Mainly Meatloaf and AC/DC, like I said.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, though, was a skater, and his favorite band was Metallica. And I wanted to be just like this kid. Like, I wanted to imitate him. I wanted to do everything he was doing. And so when I found out he loved Metallica, I was like, they're now my favorite band, too. And roughly around that same time, too, Mission Impossible 2, the movie, came out.
Okay.
And Metallica had a single for that called I Disappear. Loved that song. Listened to it over and over and over whenever I could. It was like the music video was on MTV. I was watching that all the time. And then for the movie awards that they do, Metallica played that song live. And I remember watching it, and James is up there with his style of guitars, right? And it's that metal in the back of trucks for like the toolboxes they have, where it's like sheet metal, but then there's like these like diamond X's all over it. His guitar was like basically made out of that, and I was like, holy shit, that guitar is fucking badass. This is awesome. And a couple days later, I went to my friends like, hey, did you watch the MTV Movie Awards? And did you see Metallica play? It was fucking awesome, wasn't it?
That's so crazy to think of Metallica on MTV.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like, no, I didn't watch that. They suck now. And I was like, oh, I guess I don't like Metallica anymore. Because once again, I wanted to imitate this kid and be just like him. Yeah. Not realizing that that's a sentiment a lot of people have is like 90s Metallica sucks. 80s Metallica is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Like it took me a very long time to figure that out.
I'm sure somebody just told him like, oh, Metallica sucks. And then he picked that up and was like, Metallica sucks.
But also it could just be like, he liked the older stuff too. So, but Possibly. He may have picked it up like the older stuff is what is important, or like the good shit. The new stuff isn't as good.
I doubt if he understood that at that age.
But I don't know. He was 2.5 years, 3 years older than I was.
Okay.
So he was
I thought he was your friend.
He was, yeah.
You have older friends?
2.5 years. That's not that old, really. And younger friends as well, 2.5. I think that's a good age range.
Okay. Good thing I'm in that age range.
Good thing, yeah. Anywho, So like Metallica sort of just fell off, and I went back to my standard. Gonna listen to not country, comedy and classical stuff. My dad had Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, which is kind of that swingy,
Yeah.
classical, jazzy kind of feel to it. Those all to me sort of like lumped together, even though they're not. But
No.
somehow in
But
my head,
yeah.
they're closer together than like metal and rock, I
Oh,
guess. But I guess I can see where swing now kind of goes into rock
yeah. Yeah.
and even jazz to some extent. But at the time, it was sort of those were older styles of music. So that's about it for me for elementary school.
I thought you were in middle school.
No, that's all in elementary.
Oh, you said middle school. So I thought
Oh
you were
shit,
around
my
in middle
bad.
school.
Middle school though was listening to not listening, watching MTV in the mornings where they played music videos.
Oh, yeah.
And liking like System of a Down, Chop Suey. I think Chevelle may have had a couple songs on there, and then Gorillaz with like Clint Eastwood were like the songs I enjoyed the most in the morning. There's definitely a lot of rap and other pop music on there. I don't want to say other pop music. Rap really isn't pop music, but
Well, at that time, I think it was, though.
definitely more
It was poppy.
acceptable in pop culture than like metal for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Like you're not seeing Korn. Well, you every now and then you might see Korn, but you're not seeing like Slipknot, for instance, right?
Yeah. I remember Limp Bizkit on MTV, though.
Limp Bizkit too, another new metal. I guess that's true. That
New
was
metal.
right around that same time. Yeah, Limp
So
Bizkit.
Korn could have been on there. I don't know.
They could have been like Freak on a Leash would have been.
Oh, yeah, that
on
makes
there.
sense.
I only remember that because I think Todd McFarlane did like the art,
Oh, okay.
and I am a big Spawn fan, so like that clicked to me. It's like, oh shit, this is a cool band. They like Spawn. I like Spawn. But it wasn't till right around the 8th grade. A friend of mine asked my dad to burn him a CD because he had a CD burner at work, high speed internet. You give him a list of songs, he'll download the songs, put them on the CD. And I asked my dad, like, could you burn me that same CD? Not realizing how easy it is just to say, like, put a new disc in and say burn.
Yeah.
Um,
You're like, can you spend your whole day
yeah,
putting
basically.
this together for me?
Basically. Because then you have to, like, go and download all the music and find it all. Like, it takes time, right? All my requests up to that point were always like, can you download this episode of The Simpsons? Or could you download as much Dragon Ball Z as you can for me to watch? And so that was the extent of my downloading knowledge or things I cared about. My friend's like, I want this music. Here's a mixtape, basically. I want you to burn for me. But it was like after 8th grade that summer, I finally popped that CD in and listened to it. And I can't remember everything that was on it, but I do remember enjoying a lot of it. And then it gets to one track, and I just like, oh, that's good. And I went back and listened to it again, and then listened to it again and again and again. And it was Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. And I was like, holy
But they suck.
But it's like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. I need to find more Metallica. And this is post Napster too, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably. Because that was like the 90s, wasn't it?
Late 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew of that, and I knew of like Metallica, like Metallica being in the name of like, they don't like people downloading their music. They're greedy, like all of that kind of shit, right? And I was like, it's kind of funny. I'm gonna go download everything they've made now, and I did. I went up there, typed in Metallica. I think to like a LimeWire, or maybe there was one before that I was using, and just typed in Metallica and downloaded every single song I could of theirs, and just listened to it. And the passion, like, I loved everything I listened to. It was like, holy fuck, that's awesome. Holy shit, that's Metallica too? That's awesome. Ones that I remember jumping out, one for sure was one that's like,
Yeah.
holy fuck, this is good. Puppets for sure. Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bell Tolls, like all of that shit. Kill 'Em All, like I was hooked. I loved everything. Downloaded everything I could. And then it's like, well, what's next? How do I find what's next? And I was like, I remember buying stuff on Amazon, and they tell you people who bought this also bought this. You might want to look into that. So I did that. I typed in Metallica, Master of Puppets, found that CD, and then people who bought this also bought And Justice for All. It's like, oh, I already know that. What else? So then you go to And Justice for All. People who bought this bought the Black Album. Fuck, all right, what's next? People who bought this bought Megadeth. Something like that. And it's like, all right, I don't know, Megadeth. Let me check that out. And that's sort of how it snowballed for me, is like, what are other people buying on Amazon?
Yeah. To know different artists and stuff.
Yeah, that's how I found other artists. And then it was eventually, oh, it reminded me then of System of a Down, Chop Suey, of seeing that on TV and just being like, oh, that's cool, I enjoy it, but not something I like fell in love with right away. And then it's like, well, let me go get that and everything else they've done. And just, it snowballed from there and just went all over the place. I do remember downloading Slipknot. I can't remember exactly what song it was, but I do remember downloading it and being like, because it's like, they're Iowa, I'm from Iowa, we need to support the hometown boys. Let's download it and see what it's like. And hating it. I did not like it. But it didn't take long for it to grow on me. Now they're like one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do remember at first being like, I don't like this. But then like the second listen was like, all right, it's not that bad. Third listen was like, this is pretty awesome. And the third listen, holy fuck, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like it was sort of like that quick of just like boom, 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 boom. But that's sort of how my introduction, like I've known of metal music beforehand, obviously, right?
Yeah.
We talked about, you mentioned Limp Bizkit as like new metal, and then System of a Down and all of that. Like I knew of all of that right there. And also, I think Linkin Park was a band I had known about as well.
In that time frame.
A big fan of.
Yeah.
But everything didn't really click, and my true passion didn't really spawn until Nothing Else Matters and listening to that. Do you have a similar sort of recollection, or how about even just downloading stuff? Do you remember anything along those lines?
I didn't have a computer, so I didn't download anything.
Didn't you like go to your aunt's and download a bunch of shit?
No, we never did. No, I never did. I had a friend burn me a CD in 7th grade, and it was Linkin Park. And I listened to that like crazy, like over and over and over.
The first one, Hybrid Theory?
Yeah, I'm sure it was that CD. I think we still have it somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
It's in like that booklet of CDs that you have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know where that is, but yeah, in middle school, I basically just listened to whatever was popular. Like Eminem, I listened to a lot. 50 Cent, I remember listening to that, but nothing like really jumps out to me. I didn't really listen to music that often. It was more if somebody else was listening to it, I would, but I wouldn't like seek it out. Like in the car, I remember like driving home from school, my aunt would have music on. Shaggy was really big, I think, during that time frame too. Do you remember Shaggy?
I remember Shaggy. I remember you telling me you liked Shaggy.
Yeah.
There was one song I remember, like the main. I don't know what song it is now.
Wasn't Me?
No, I don't think it was that. It was, I don't know.
Angel?
Maybe it was. Maybe Angel.
Those are the two that I know. Is Angel and Wasn't Me.
I can't remember, but I remember when the song came out and like it was very big.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I listened to like a second track and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm over it.
Yeah. I feel like my aunt used to have a CD that was just the 2 tracks of Angel and
Oh, really?
Shaggy. I'm sure there's more on there, but those are the only ones we listened to. But no, I don't. I mean, and then you had like your school dance music or whatever. Like I remember listening to those songs like in dance.
I forgot. I do remember one song from elementary school. I don't know if you probably are a big fan of this too, but Titanic came out and I loved that movie and that song. Your Heart Will Go On.
Yeah.
I do remember that from like elementary time frame.
Yeah. I don't think I was allowed to watch that during elementary school. I don't remember the first time I watched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I know it's like really big in your family and whatnot.
Yeah. We watched it eventually, but I'm sure it was after 4th grade, after my mom didn't live with us anymore.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I had a pretty sheltered childhood.
All right. Anything else before getting into like high school time frame?
No. I mean, I think once I got back, there was a time period where like I couldn't even stand country music. Like I remember going to my mom's house and like we'd be it was like a 4-hour car ride, and like if they turned on country music, I would like.
Oh, really?
It would like make me crawl.
Huh. Interesting.
Because I was like, whatever was played on like Kiss FM, that station like in Des Moines, like that's what I liked to listen to. Like I'm calling it the popular music.
Okay.
But yeah, like there was a time period where I couldn't even listen to country music.
It's funny because I remember when I met you, you're like all into the country.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I know.
Fuck this
shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where those like lines were, like when I didn't like country at all, but probably like 6th and 7th grade.
Okay.
And then going into high school, I remember I guess probably when when I had my own car, I got back into country. Because I would listen
probably
to.
started buying your own music too at that point.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. Yeah, and then I would listen to country in my car, or like there was also I can't remember the other artist. I had a CD that I always listened to. I think the song was like "Won't You Love Me" or something. I don't know.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the artist, but so I would listen to that. But otherwise, I'd listen to Kiss FM or country music. 97.3.
Okay, interesting. I mean, okay.
Yeah, I don't have a very exciting musical journey, so.
I mean, maybe not that early on, but eventually I think it gets a little better, a little different at least.
It's different. Well, I mean, now I listen to one genre, basically.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I guess, all right, for me then, after like I said, going down this Metallica like rabbit hole, and then which led me to everything else, that was like my gateway. It was, go to school, talk to your friends.
I didn't have friends.
I didn't have any either, but yeah, the few you had, you talked to.
Yeah.
Figure out what they're listening to. I remember going to, another way I found out about stuff was Roadrunner, who Slipknot was signed to.
Oh, okay.
You go to their main page and it's who's on there, like who else have they signed other bands, and if they're signed by the same people who signed Slipknot, they must like Slipknot, they must be like Slipknot.
That's not true.
Let's see what they have. And
that's funny, but that's not true.
I mean, it's a lot of metal for sure. Dresden Dolls are the only one that jump out as like non-metal.
Oh, really?
On Roadrunner that I can think of.
I guess I always see record labels as not signing the same genre of music.
Yeah, I think it depends. Roadrunner is very unique.
Okay.
I think in that way.
Okay.
Nuclear Blast is another one where they're very metal heavy, metal focused, but like Warner Brother music label is like such a catch-all that anything that will sell and make them money, basically. And I mean, that's the point of a record label also.
It is, yeah.
But Roadrunner was always very niche in terms of.
I mean, I don't follow like who produces what music or like the record labels and stuff, so I don't know.
No, but I've said like that's just how I found out about new music.
Yeah, no,
and
I know.
Dived into it. So that was another way I found out about it. And then going to like live shows was like once I started.
Yeah, you started that in high school.
I went to my first show, Motley Crue, and then just very soon after was Slipknot and Lamb of God and Shadows Fall, and just being like, holy shit, I love this. I need to do more of this. And then it became a passion for live music.
Yeah.
One other fun story, possibly, is like we listen to a lot of records now, like LPs, physical records.
Yeah.
That started for me in high school too, that love as well. I remember after Christmas every year we'd go to the malls. Merle Hay in particular, that was like my favorite mall, and like the greatest mall of all time was in that like 90s era, Merle Hay in my opinion. But this one corner at the back of the mall, they had KB Toys. I don't think it was KB Toys anymore. Maybe there was a toy store, maybe not. There was a video game / computer store that slowly drifted away from the computers because they also sold hardware and stuff, and just to like, it became like a GameStop basically.
Okay.
Across the way from that was Suncoast, which was a only movie store. You go in there and buy all the movies you want. I'd get my Simpsons DVDs and my Dragon Ball Z VHS tapes from there. And then across from that was Sam's Club, Sam Goody, the music store.
Sam's Club is like Costco.
Yeah, I can't remember the name because eventually it became FYE.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they became FYE, but FYE took over.
That store.
Suncoast and Sam Goody were owned by the same parent company. So you had like a rewards program that if you went here, you spent so much money, you got like $5 off.
Okay.
Anywho, I started to get into metal, and Slipknot was one of my favorite bands. And every year after Christmas, we'd go and just spend whatever Christmas money we had. And my dad also bought us calendars because this was also like right around New Year's or the weekend at like, the 2nd of January or something. So calendars are probably a little cheaper. Was my guess is why we did this. Like, get them when they're reduced. Like, you don't need them up till this point of time anyway. So it's like, all right, that's cool. We'll go get we'll go get a calendar for the year. What do I want? I was like, I kind of want a music. I'm really getting into music. I want a music calendar. So I went in there. They're a music store. They've got to have a calendar section, right? And I think they did. And near it, I found an end cap with a Slipknot calendar on it. And I was like, holy shit, I need to have this. But it was pricey, like $25 or something. And grabbed it. Dad comes in, run over to him, like, I know it's expensive, but it comes with a poster. This is the calendar I want. And I hand it to him, and he just starts laughing. He's like, this isn't a calendar. This is what's called a record. It's what I used to listen to music on. And I kind of felt shitty when he said that, because it was like, oh, A, I'm embarrassed that I messed it up. And then B, where it's like that, it's what music was used to listen to. It's like, I know what the fuck a record is, but like, I know what a record is, but I've just never held one or seen one.
Yeah.
So I was like, how dare you talk down to me not for knowing what a record is? But really it was, you know what it is, but clearly you don't know. You know what I mean? It was like one of those things. Yeah. It was well-deserved for sure. But since that moment, I was like, I'm going to buy a record player, and then I'm going to get music on record or on vinyl. And eventually I got that album. It was Iowa was the album. Still have it to this day. Like, I think it's a first pressing and all of that shit. But like, it's so sentimental to me. Never sell it, never do any of that shit. But I don't know, like, that kicked off the buying vinyl and music. And up to this point too, like I said, I had downloaded a bunch of shit for free on the internet. But I then went out for the band. Like, it was a way for me to discover music. And once I found out about a band, I then went and bought the CD.
Went and bought that.
Because like, I want to support them, right?
Yeah.
The downloading for me was solely an exploration sort of phase.
Well, you also had like an iPod during, because I remember taking your iPod to high school.
I eventually got an iPod. Yeah, I don't know exactly when.
Well, I was
in. It was with my work paychecks. I had to buy it.
Yeah.
Before that, I had an MP3 CD player, so I could put like 100 tracks on a single CD player. I loved that. And then eventually I did buy an iPod. It was an iPod Photo, I think.
Oh,
but it was like this.
It was huge,
massive, like 1.5 inch thick iPod. Not like the first. It was. If I had it, I could like point out like that's the one I had. It was like 512 gigs, maybe less than. I can't remember. It held a fuck ton of music.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically high school for me. Is just
exploring and buying
music,
records.
finding new things, changing music with friends. I know when we started at Burger King, or when I started at Burger King, meeting Kyle, Jake, and Jerry, who were also into metal and sort of geeky culture like us, or like me at least.
Yeah, that geeky.
Like, just sharing music and learning about new music from them as well. Like, I think that's where I learned about dancing was from Jerry and Kyle and Jake and all that, and Misfits too. Like, that's where I sort of found out about all of that and whatnot.
Yeah.
So like, that was a big thing for me. And then like you too. Like, I think I introduced you to like Disturbed somehow.
Yeah. So, I mean, once we finally met, you introduced me to Disturbed because I had a CD that was like Spanish CD because my best friend in high school was from Mexico. So she listened to a lot of Spanish music, and I didn't even know what they said, but one of the songs was about a heart because it's like mi corazón or whatever. I probably said that wrong, but whatever. So you got me to go to a Disturbed concert. We talked about it during our first episode.
Yeah.
But you got me to go to a Disturbed concert because El Nino was there and they sing in Spanish. Yep. So you're like, oh, you'll like them because they sing in Spanish. So we went to the Disturbed concert. And then Disturbed became my one band that I listened to for many years.
Was it though? Like, or did you keep listening to like Linkin Park and stuff?
No, yeah, I did. But it was like the band that I listened to the most. But then I also listened to country a lot during that time period as well. Like all through college, I listened to country. And then all the way probably up until 2014, 15, I listened to country music.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Well, I don't know. Let's not go that far. Let's go back to high school. Because like I was not allowed to listen to any rock-ish music.
Any devil music?
Yeah. Anything that had a guitar, an electric guitar, I was not allowed to listen to because it made my grandma's gizzard shake. Is what she would say. So we'd have to change the channel to something else. So we listened to a lot of 50s music with them.
Okay.
I mean, that makes sense. It's grandparents, so
Yeah,
they listen to it. So that's, I mean, if we were in the car. But otherwise, I didn't really listen to music until I got my own car. I guess I did talk about that. And then I listened to country a lot and stuff. Yeah. So that was about my high school until I met you. And then we listened to Rammstein and Disturbed are the two that I remember.
Yeah.
And Linkin Park. Like,
Linkin
I still
Park.
listened to Linkin Park.
I think I played a lot of Metallica for you too, being like,
I hated it,
you
though.
should listen to this. This is awesome. Like trying to get you.
Yeah. They all sound the same. I mean, a lot of them sound the same, but I can pick them out now. But at the time, I was just like, they all sound the same.
Like you like Disturbed. Like this is Disturbed, but 100 times better.
I do remember listening to Rammstein a lot with you. And then like when I took your iPod to school, I listened to Rammstein on it. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Because
the iPod or Rammstein?
The iPod, of having an iPod. I mean, obviously I couldn't afford an iPod, so it was, I don't know. But like and then I always wore your Rammstein sweater too, the Mike Tile sweater to school. I mean, nobody knows what it says, so.
Yeah. Or the meaning behind it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I mean, after that, like then it's college, right? And
yeah.
I still listen to a lot of metal. That was my main music in college, I think. It wasn't until after college that I sort of, and before we get that, speaking of the iPod, I could hold so many fucking songs on there. I think it was like 120 songs. I think 120,000 songs could fit on there, maybe more.
Okay.
And I ripped all my CDs to it. I still had like not even a quarter of it full. So I went over to a friend who graduated a year after I did, but worked at the radio station at the college campus and basically filled his hard drive up with all of their music. And I took my iPod over and it's like, give me all the music you have that I might like. And it was just one night sitting there. It's like, do you like the Rolling Stones? Like, never really heard them. Throw them on there. How about the Beatles? Like, I've heard a couple songs. Beatles are my mom's favorite band.
Yeah.
So it's like, throw them on there. I haven't really listened to them, it's stuff like that. And then weird things too, like Captain Beefheart, which I remember getting and eventually listened to. And it's like, oh, this is fun. I like this. But it was like that. It was like, just give me everything you have and let me just explore and put your iPod on shuffle and see what comes up.
Yeah.
But that was it until the end of college. It was still just the same, listening to metal, getting new metal that came out. Psychosocial was the newest Slipknot album that came out. And then metal just kind of stopped for me. I stopped listening to metal.
Yeah.
I listened to a lot of alternative rock, indie rock, folk rock, even dabbled into rap a little bit.
Okay.
But
I don't.
Yeah.
You always say that. I don't really remember the rap too much, but I do remember the indie rock a lot.
I don't
like at our wedding. We had a lot of indie rock.
Yeah, I didn't play rap much for you. It was a lot of Eminem.
Yeah.
Some Tupac. But yeah, a lot of like Eminem, Tupac, Jay-Z even. Blueprint 3, I think was the album I had on there. I loved that album. And I guess even Lady Gaga, like pop, I got into that a little bit. Like when Lady Gaga first came out, I hated it. I thought this was the worst thing ever. We were bar hopping one night, and the first bar we go to, there was a older woman there who put on Poker Face, I think, and was just like drunk in the bar singing it. And eventually her and her group left and went to a different bar. And eventually we went to that same bar, and she had that same song and just blaring and like on the jukebox and like blaring at herself like drunkenly. And then we go to the third bar and it's on there again. We just got so pissed, I remember.
I don't remember that.
I swear to God you were there.
I'm sure I was there. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, but I remember hating it at that point. And then eventually like it grew on me a couple days later or something like that, hearing it again, just because it was all over the place when that album came out.
You used to listen to like Alejandro too. Is that Lady Gaga?
Alejandro was on that same album. Boys, Boys, Boys. That's
yeah.
But yeah, that was sort of my thing for about 4 to 6 years.
Yeah. And during that time, I never listened to music. I only listened to podcasts.
Yeah. You were
Like
saying that.
No, I mean, even in the car, I listen to podcasts. Everywhere, I always had podcasts on. Like I don't remember really listening to anything during those years.
Do you remember what kind of podcasts? Because right now you're into podcasts again and stuff, but it's like true crime.
Yeah, now
almost.
I listen to true crime. Back then, I used to listen to financial podcasts.
Okay.
And only financial podcasts.
So the same thing. Like you found your one thing, and like
Yep.
this is the one thing I'm going to hammer and hammer until I'm done with it.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay.
I'm a one thing person.
And then all of that changed, I think for me, probably for you too, around 2016.
2016, yep.
We went to open air for the first time.
Yep.
Well, the first open air.
Yeah, the first open air, yep. And we went because it was Disturbed, Rammstein, and Slipknot.
Yep.
Rammstein, Disturbed, Slipknot.
In that order.
Yeah.
Headliners.
But I remember, because like I said, we always obviously went to see Slipknot in Iowa once. I did once. You saw them a couple times in Iowa.
Just one other time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
2 times total. Yeah.
a couple. But and then Rammstein, obviously we wanted to see them so bad for the longest time, and then obviously Disturbed. I love Disturbed. So, and even after moving to Chicago, like I listened to Disturbed a lot because I walked to the lake almost every single day when I wasn't working, and I listened to Disturbed every single day, and it was my thing. Just on that walk, I would listen to it. But so yeah, once we found out about open air, we went and like got immersed into live music and immersed into metal music again. And I think that just like flipped the switch for us to get back into the metal scene.
Yeah, so that's the thing too, right? Like, I think one of my last concerts was Metallica in Des Moines around 2009-ish.
Yeah, I think that
correctly.
was our last one.
Was it our last one?
I think so.
And I was in college for sure by then.
We had no money. That's all I remember.
Yeah, and that was the last show I saw, if that was the last one, until this particular concert. And like I said, when I saw my first, Motley Crue and then Slipknot a few days later, and just being like, holy shit, live music is awesome. And that stayed with me up until that point. And then it really became, we don't have the time or the finances to do this. Yeah. And it kind of sucked. I wasn't necessarily the happiest about it, I don't think. I can't honestly remember, though. I'm just assuming.
I don't know. You never, see, that was something that, like, you never brought up, like, this band's coming, I want to see them.
And it also kind of like fell off. Like I stopped listening to the radio and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know when bands were coming.
Yeah.
And then when
I
they
think
were
that
here,
is one thing. Like during that time frame, we would listen to music or like CDs in the car, or I don't even know when I stopped listening to the radio. I guess I still listen to the radio through college.
Yeah, and then when I wasn't listening to CDs, I would put my headphones in while I drove, which probably isn't the safest thing to do. But it was a lot of just, here's the music I've discovered and I like. I'm done discovering. I'm just going to sit this on repeat.
Yeah. And then then eventually our phones became our music.
I mean, for sure, especially around, like when I started to explore outside of metal, for sure, it was like Pandora. Just stick whatever you like, the Avett Brothers or the Black Keys on shuffle and see what comes up after that, and just sort of going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of figured it out. But it definitely wasn't the radio presenting new music. That's not how I found it.
Right. But that's you mentioned that we weren't listening to the radio, so then you wouldn't know about concerts, which is true. Like,
and then when we do find out about it, they're still already sold out.
Yeah. And we didn't use social media back then or whatever either know. I mean, I don't know if anybody really used it for that type of thing anyways, like they do today. But I mean, that's where we find about all the concerts now is, well, I do anyways, is they announce on social media. So
I eventually just did like, maybe we should do a 666 on this, but like all the mailing lists and signed up for those.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, that took us to 2017 when we went to the open air, as we already said.
2016.
Yeah, sorry, 2016. Did we see anything after that, or was 2017 the next one?
I don't think so. I think we went to 2017 open air. And then that's where because 2016, we were kind of like still, the 3 headliners were the bands we liked. We weren't really, we saw other bands, obviously. But even when we so we have an episode coming out soon that's going to talk about all 3 years of open air. And when we recorded that, like looking at the sets or the lineup, I was just like, oh my God, this person's here. They were there. And like, I don't remember any of that because I think we weren't really into the let's listen to this and like see if we like it sort of thing. It was just like, we don't know this, so let's move on. Kind of, at least that was my mentality.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too. Like, I remember leaving 2016 open air and loving it and being like, we're coming back next year.
Oh, yeah.
So a part of me is wondering if we didn't go to live shows between 16 and 17 because it just wasn't something we were into as much as we are now, or if it was more of the we need to save up for next year.
I think it was probably the latter. Not that we weren't into going to see concerts. I think it was at that time we still weren't financially okay. So it was like, even going to 2017, it was like, okay, we know this is happening. Let's
save for it and get prepped.
Make sure that we can go.
And then, but it's right around this time though. Exactly when we'll have to look at like our ticket stubs up here we like to keep for like going to see live shows. But we'll have to go back and look. But I know it was sort of a snowball, not really as big as it's been the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But we did start going to more live shows when they came to town.
Yeah, because like, I mean, after 2017, then it was like, maybe the next one was Trivium and Avatar, like right after that.
I'm trying to think that was...
Or Amon Marth right after that. I can't remember
which definitely was Avatar, I think, next. Because I remember I was, once again, listening to stuff on Shuffle and found Trivium. And I was like, I like this band. I want to see them live. And then I saw that they were there with Avatar. And I'm like, Karen likes Avatar. Let's go check this out.
Yeah.
We'll both be happy.
Yeah. But I guess even going back to like me listening to one thing, like after we saw Avatar in 2017, like that's all I listened to.
Right.
For the longest time.
Yep.
And
I'm more of like the shuffle and just give me something new.
Yeah.
So,
and I still don't shuffle. Like,
yeah.
I do sometimes, but most of the time it's like, I want to listen to this band, so this is what I'm going to listen to. Yep. Or, that sort of thing. But yeah, so then we started going to concerts in 2017.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that many also. It was only a couple.
No, like I think we only had like 3, maybe that. Well, with open air, it's probably 3.
And that kind of stayed up until 2019.
So I remember 2019, like we would see a few shows every year.
Yeah.
Or in 2017 and 2018, we saw a few shows. In 2019, I remember having 8 concerts that year. And I only remember this because I was talking to somebody at work and they're like, you're going to see another concert? You just went to see a concert.
Really?
And I was like, yeah, we have 8, this is like our 8th show this year, or the 8th concert this year. But they were like, I mean, because it was like House of Blues and
definitely
stuff. I mean, they weren't like
local stuff, House of Blues for sure. Like that was our main venue was House of Blues.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember all of them, but I just remember having that conversation with somebody at work.
But I mean, since 2016, Chicago Open Air, that's when like I started getting really back into metal and searching into that.
Yeah.
I also started probably right around the 18-ish time frame of getting into EDM a little bit more too.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot about that.
Asking my friends who were into EDM, Brandon and Corey, and I was like, "Hey, you guys like EDM, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." Like, can you introduce me to some stuff? What should I listen to? What should I? And they made me a playlist, and I still listen to the playlist today. It's a lot of fun to listen to. But once again, it took me back to those high school days of just like go to your few friends that you have that you talk about music with, and like, what are you listening to today? What like introduce me to this style? Show me this.
I don't do that.
And I still like EDM. It's definitely not my go-to by any means.
Yeah.
But when I hear it, I don't like get as pissed as I used to. Because it used to be growing up, it was rap, country, EDM. All 3 genres of those are the fucking worst. I'm never listening to them. Now it's just country. Everything else is good. Unless the country is like super depressing.
Then you like it?
Yeah, about somebody cheating on somebody else or...
It's all of it. I already explained that.
I don't get that. I get it with Thunder Road. What's the Dolly Parton one? Jolene. I love Jolene. That's such a good song.
You should listen to Fancy by Reba.
Nah, I'm good.
It's about a prostitute. Like somebody selling their daughter into prostitution.
All right, I might check that out. That seems kind of depressing. I
didn't know that until like 2 years ago.
See, I don't listen to the lyrics also, so it's like it's hard.
Yeah,
like
but
Jolene
that's the thing.
is
Like,
easy because it's just like Jolene.
I listened to Reba as a kid. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I listened to this as a kid, not knowing what it meant, but like I lived such like for the rules we had in our house. I don't know how I was allowed to.
How is this?
I couldn't even watch The Simpsons.
How is this appropriate? And
Exactly.
like one isn't.
Exactly.
So interesting.
Anyways.
Interesting. But I do remember going to see a lot of EDM shows around that time.
Yeah,
as well.
you did. Yeah.
Because the four of us would always go.
I wasn't included. I chose not to go. Not that I wasn't included. It was just I chose.
Depending on who, like, it started with the three of us, Brandon, Corey, and myself, and then significant others and friend groups of theirs tagging along and going to shows also because they were all into that kind of stuff. And even other people at work who were into it would go with us, like Fred. And it was a lot of fun just hanging out with all these people and going to these shows. But I do remember doing that. And you, like you said, you didn't go to it. So it was like one of those things when you say we went to 8 shows, I'm like, I don't remember.
So you probably went to more.
I remember going to a lot of those shows, but I don't remember you being at a lot of those shows. No, I'm saying.
I'm sure you went to a lot more shows because of that. But I went to 8 shows that year. That's what I remember.
But then, 2020 happened. I knew we had a lot of shows planned for 2020.
Well, I think so. Before we get to 2020, I think when we were able to make S&M2 work, because we finally financially got
stable and like started.
Like we learned how to
save our money and spend it. And
prioritize our money. That's what I call it. I don't really say saving because we really don't save money. It's we prioritize it to pay for what we want to pay for.
Yep.
So doing S&M2 really got the bug in me of like, oh my gosh, we can buy these tickets, do a cheap trip somewhere, go see something, and then come home all in one weekend. And that's kind of what we do now.
Yeah, S&M2 was unique that way where we flew out Friday night.
Yeah, we saw the Sunday show of that.
Flew out Friday night, had all day Saturday, all day Sunday, then saw the show Sunday night, and then flew out Monday.
Yeah, it was like so fast.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
In and out. And it was there to see that once-in-a-lifetime show. I'm glad we made it work.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it beforehand. And you're like, I found tickets online for X.
Yeah.
Planes are this much. Hotels are going to be this much. That's how much we were going to spend to go do a week-long trip in like Little Rock, Arkansas to see them.
So. Yeah.
And I was like, I'd rather spend 2 days in San Francisco and see S&M2 than go to Little Rock and see them.
Yeah. And at the time, like I was working like 65 hours a week or more.
You were getting a lot of overtime.
So the overtime really helped with that. So, I mean, but yeah, like, I mean, we were able to, doing that, like really frame, like if we're talking about like how our musical journey like framed what we do today or what we like today, right now, like that's probably, 2016 really started it, but 2019 seeing S&M2 is really what got like the whole like let's start traveling for concerts or let's go see different concerts that aren't just down the street from us or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, right? 2016 is definitely what got me back into metal as my primary genre that I listened to. At the time, like I was still listening to it every now and then, but it wasn't my primary. Now it's my primary.
Yeah.
Which, like, again, it was back from like 8th grade up until college. So those 8 years or so of my life.
Yeah.
And then picked up back in 2016. So it was about a 6-year break there, or whatever it was. I don't know. And then, I for some reason, 2019 is not ringing a bell to me, but
it
makes sense because going into 2020, we had a lot of stuff already booked.
We did, yeah. Yeah.
And we already like looking, so maybe it was really, maybe it really was.
Well, you saw 2 concerts in 2020, and I saw 1.
I'm trying to think.
Because you went to see one at Argonne.
I saw the Black Keys.
And then we saw Lumineers.
Lumineers, right? Yeah.
And that was the last concert we saw for 18 months.
Yeah, we saw Lumineers. Then I went and saw Black Keys, and then lockdown happened like soon after that.
Yeah.
And everything got canceled. All the shows we had basically got canceled.
Some of them were postponed, but
some were postponed.
Yeah.
Like Rammstein.
already going into 2020 before March happened. Like we had, I don't even know how much,
like six maybe,
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, not quite what we do now, but I mean, last year what did we have?
Mid-20s, I think.
Mid-20s.
But I mean, once again, I think
Yeah.
that carried over, especially 2020 helping me. And like, you can't see live music now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're like, shit, we want to do this. So anything that we would have spent on live music, we either bought records.
Oh yeah, our records got like
that
huge.
exploded.
Yeah.
As well as just saving money for concerts.
Yeah.
In 2022, which is 2021, and then
yeah, because 2021 we only saw
a handful,
like 3 or 4,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But then 2022 is when
it exploded.
Yeah.
And even this year, we've got, I think, mid-20s already booked for this year. And that's not like, that's barely announcing summer shows. Fall and winter shows haven't been announced yet. So there'll be a lot more, I think.
Yeah. I think right now, where we are in life right now is like, we listen to music all the time now. Like we do the dinner.
Listen to music at dinner.
Listening to music at dinner, which I didn't know that came from your childhood. Well, not that it came from your childhood, but.
So I didn't bring this back up, I don't think. My mom likes to say it a lot, and maybe we'll talk about this in the future, but it's music appreciation night.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember doing it as a child that often, unless this is what I'm thinking of. But I do remember going to her house on like Christmas breaks. We would go.
Yeah, you and I would go.
And I remember we would play music. And by we, I mean she would mainly play music.
Well, you would maybe get one song in, and then she'd be like, "No, I'm going to show you good music."
So I tried to like play her Linkin Park, and she's like, I don't know what the song is, but they say "fuck" in like one of the first sentences. Going out of my fucking mind, I think is what it was. Whatever song that is. Because like this is a good middle ground to get you into. Same thing I did with you, like. If you like this, try like slowly getting you into the heavier, better metal.
We should do like
not
Volbeat or Ghost or something next time.
But then to be like, they said, "Fuck, I can't let go of that. I need to stop." No,
Like
here's something better.
This. Yeah.
Well, not that we can't listen to, but just like now she's getting hung up on that one word thing.
Yeah.
And so I definitely remember doing that at that point in time. And a lot of the music she played, I did enjoy, like. The Eagles, Billy Joel, the Beatles, like all of that. It's great music. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it, but it's like, how about this? What do you think of this?
Yeah, if it's a music appreciation, it's like you should listen to
other
music than what you choose.
But so yeah, I mean, I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't know. I was talking about like what we do now with music, where we do the dinner thing.
Yeah, so that's what it was. I don't know if like that's.
Yeah.
It did start early on in life at that dinner thing, and that was music appreciation. It definitely could have been.
Yeah. Like we both listen to music when we work.
Yep.
I listen to music when I'm walking by myself. Like.
I listen to music all the time I can. If I'm walking anywhere, if I'm taking transit.
I'm saying by myself because like if we walk together, I don't listen to music.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I would like to, but we don't.
We could.
Just walk side by side. And headphones in.
No, just like. You have one and I have one.
No, that's true. We could do that, but no.
But then concerts is really what we enjoy the most, I think.
Yeah, and like I talked about earlier, of like having that friend group to like, what are you listening to? What are you doing? And even going back to, Amazon and people who bought this also bought this, or stick something on shuffle and just listen to what comes up next. Like that's a great way to find new music. But the best way I've found in the last year or so is definitely going to live shows and catching the openers.
Yeah.
And being blown away by their sets and then being like, fuck, Whitechapel is awesome. I need to check out them again.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or Baroness is amazing. Check out Baroness.
To some people.
To a lot of people who enjoy good music. They're good.
But yeah, I think festivals is like, cause
also, yes. Yeah.
Like seeing festivals, like you have so many bands there to like check out, even if you just check out like 1 or 2 songs and then move on to the next stage or whatever.
You get the energy. You should be able to get the energy. You should be able to get the idea of the sound.
And it's going to be their most popular songs that they play at festivals. They're not going to play like deep cuts or anything like that. It's going to be the popular songs that get people into them. And then you go see their headlining show and then you get the older stuff or the deep cuts and stuff.
So yeah, that's where we're at currently in life.
Yeah.
Anything you want to touch on that we may have glossed over or skipped, or you want to revisit real quick?
No, the only thing, like, I don't do the whole one band thing anymore. I mean, I have like
changed the last few
favorite
years.
bands,
Yeah.
but that I listen to a lot, like maybe a handful, like 4 or 5 that I listen to like almost every day. But then otherwise I listen to a lot more different bands. I don't know how to say that. Like my library is bigger now than what it used to be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely noticed that with you too, as it has gotten your library you listen to, your catalog you listen to is so much larger than it was.
Than one band.
Or even
3 bands, yeah.
But you do have your favorites that you listen to a lot, like Wage War is one you're always listening to.
Always.
So
yeah. Wage War and Lamb of God are like my work bands. Of like
get you through the rough day.
Yeah, getting me to work and then home from work, yeah.
No, it's been fun to think about this and look back at this and try to remember some of this stuff.
Some stories that you said that I didn't know about.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot.
You like to break your heart for a split moment.
For a split moment, I did enjoy that song.
We should listen to that tonight.
No, we're not going. No, that's over. That phase. That song is over.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, go out, explore your own journey. Explore new things. Don't get stuck on just one band.
Don't do what I did.
Enjoy music. Go out and enjoy it. That's it for me, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. See ya.
Bye.